Hi, my name is Keri Barnum. I am the Executive Director of New Shelves Books, and we're here for Free Advice Friday, the hour every Friday where we get together to talk about book marketing, publishing, and all things authorship. We are here at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can join us live at newshelves.com/FAF. You can also email questions in advance, info@newshelves.com. We do take those and try to answer them on our live call, and it will go up on YouTube for a replay. So today we've got a couple of questions that are already in our live chat, and then we also have questions that were emailed in this week. So we're going to jump right in. Anna is asking, can you provide the new PCIP company that you plan to use? So we've been talking over the last couple of weeks that Donahue Group is going to be no more as of the end of this month, so in just a couple of days. And after that, I am planning to use, or at least give a try to, Cassidy Cataloging Services. I will drop their link right in the chat so everyone can see it. But it's Cassidy Cataloging Services. If you let them know that you were previously a customer of Donahue Group, they will waive your initial setup fee. So that's nice of them to do. All right, have I heard of Pubvendo, and would you recommend them? Felice, I have not heard of Pubvendo, so I don't know who they are, what they are, and I couldn't recommend them or not. But if anyone who is live has ever heard or used Pubvendo, drop it in the chat and let us know. All right, an emailed question we got in this week. Let's see. One of the big questions is, what is a must do in order to make the most of a podcast, radio, or TV interview? What are the kind of must do things so that you can get the most out of any interview? And I got this question, I think 3 times this week, so it must be trending. So way to go, getting yourself booked for interviews and doing podcasts. I think that's great. And as far as some of the must do things, I think you must know your elevator pitch. No, you don't need to just blurt out your elevator pitch about your book, but you should know it. You should be able to summarize what your book is and who your reader is in just a couple of sentences in a very short amount of time. And you want to be able to know that so well that you can start bringing it into natural conversation so that it doesn't feel forced. The other thing that I would highly recommend is if you're doing anything with Zoom or on any platform, maybe it's GoToWebinar, maybe it's Zoom, maybe it's just something that you're recording. I highly, highly recommend that you do a test before. Get on camera, check your lighting, make sure that it's good, make sure that your microphone is good and someone else can hear you. Get a friend to join you on Zoom so you can just see each other and make sure that it works well that way. Because what you don't want to do is you do not want to get there for the day of your interview, be all ready to go, and then you look on camera and you're like, oh my gosh, you can't see half of my face because it's in a shadow or it's so bright outside, and you're worried about it. And what about my background? And does it look funny? And all these types of things. So practice that ahead of time. And make sure it's the same time of day. When it comes to your lighting, the light in my office where I'm at right now is not the same at 10 a.m. as it is at 6 p.m. Obviously, but it's vastly different. In 6 p.m. I actually have a bright light shining straight into my eyes. I'm all washed out, you can't see me, and it doesn't work very well. So if I'm doing a video at that time, it's best for me to move. So practice, do a test for your video and do it at the same time of day so you can get a good idea of the lighting. And the other thing I would highly, highly recommend is have something easy to ask and divert people to. So certainly you can tell people, yeah, you can go buy the book anywhere online, or you can go buy it at the local bookstore, or whatever it may be. Yes, absolutely. However, think about lead generation, think about emails, and not just getting a sale, but getting a customer, getting a contact. Can you create something on your website so that as you're interviewing, you can say, you know, when they say, okay, well, how do people get in touch with you? Oh, it's really easy. You can just go to newshelves.com/giveaway. We've got this free download that helps you do X, Y, and Z. If you have something that you can easily reference that is a giveaway, you're more likely to draw traffic because it's free. You are going to make it easy. Make sure it's an easy landing page. We're not going to say, oh, hey, it's a book funnel link. Here is the web address, bookfunnel.com/XYZ123572. Don't do that. Make it really easy and simple to say, and make it evergreen. Something you can put up and you can reference, and whether people listen to this podcast interview today or 10 months from now, it will still be there. That's why I typically recommend you do just your website/giveaway, and people can go there and they can claim something for free. And we've talked about these lead generating giveaways before. It needs to be something people want. It needs to be juicy, but I would make sure that it's something that you can easily work into conversation that would come up, and that it would feel pretty natural to talk about, because you want to sound natural. You want to know your content. You want to know your audience. And yes, you do want to invite people to go to your website, but you also really want to make sure that you're not sounding salesy. No one wants an interview that is there to put on a commercial. People want to have an interview that is there, that's engaging, that's fun, that's relatable. And the other and last piece of advice I always give is, when you're doing an interview, make sure you breathe and you invite comment from the person interviewing you. So instead of them asking you a question about your book and you just go on this long 5-minute ramble, it's better if you say something along the lines of, well, you know, Bob, when there are different types of, I don't know, whatever it is, maybe we're talking about fishing. So, you know, Bob, have you ever gone fishing in Alaska? No? Okay. Well, fishing in Alaska is like this. Make it conversational. Make your answers conversational, so it's not just you droning on. That's really, really important. And it's very easy for interviewees to get on a tangent, start talking, and then it ends up with the host having to interrupt you simply to move forward. So be mindful of that. But no matter what, getting yourself out there is great. Practice makes perfect. The more that you are in public speaking, the more that you are interviewed, the more comfortable you typically get. So jump in there. And I think it's great that so many of you are apparently doing that, because again, I got several questions about that this week. All right, we had a question about how the book ranking process works, and that is a big one. So book ranking depends on what platform you're on. If you are on Amazon, it's the bestseller ranking works in two ways. There's the overall Kindle or paperback ranking, and then there's category ranking. And on Amazon in particular, these rankings are updated about every hour. So what does that look like? Let me go ahead and pull up Amazon, a little show and tell, because hey, why not? So here we go. Maybe. There we go. All right. So on Amazon, when we're looking at books, excuse me, when we're looking at book, there is two types of ranking. Let's go to this one. Almonds Bite. So almonds. Anyway, there are two types of ranking. If we go down here to the ranking list, we have the Kindle ranking. This is your overall ranking on Kindle. This is saying that this book is 25,843 in the entire Kindle store. Keep in mind the Kindle store has roughly 4 million books. So this book is doing pretty well. It's on the top. Then we have category rankings, and you will notice that the category ranking is higher than the overall Kindle ranking. And that is because these are specific to each category. So while this book is at roughly 26,000 in Kindle overall, it is 46 in teen and young adult contemporary fantasy, 51 in teen and young adult fiction on girls and women's issues. So there are two types of ranking here. It is my system, Pat. I don't know why, but it's on Facebook, so we're all good. So we've got that here, and we've got the ranking in 2 places, and it's available in both ways. Now, you can claim a #1 bestseller if you do hit #1 in one of these categories, as long as your book is selling for profit and not for free. If you do a free giveaway and your book hits #1 in a free category, it is technically not a bestseller. You will not get that orange banner from Amazon because you didn't technically sell it, you gave it away. Still fantastic. It still shows that people are interested in your book, but it's not a bestseller. So keep that in mind. If you hit #1 in a category, that is considered a bestseller in that category. And of course, if you hit #1 in all the Kindle store, then congratulations, you're probably hitting USA Today or some other big list, because that's a lot of books sold all at once. So that is how it works here on Amazon. Now, there are also bestseller rankings on places like Barnes & Noble. So Barnes & Noble has their own ranking system. It does update multiple times through the day. However, in my experience, bestseller ranking in Amazon or on Barnes & Noble tends to update more like every 3 to 4 hours. So you will notice that as well. And your ranking doesn't always show up unless you're actually selling books. If you are not selling books or have not sold books on Barnes & Noble anytime recently, I have noticed that you don't actually see a ranking until you start getting some movement. Now you'll notice this one has a lovely bestseller banner because it's best-selling in a category. So here on the Nookbook, we can see it says sales rank #2. So this is #2 in all of Nook books. So there's that. And then it can also be best-selling in niche categories as well. So there's 2 types of sales rank here. And again, these go about every 3 hours in my experience. And it's once again based on sales. And then, of course, you have bestseller ranking as far as like USA Today, New York Times, and all of those. We do have over on the blog at New Shelves, we do have a blog that is bestseller secrets, and it talks more about that for each individual platform. So you can check that out. If you go to the New Shelves blog, newshelves.com/blog, you will see it. I think it's one of the more recent ones, and you can always search. So if you ever have questions.
Sorry, could you say that again? My apologies.
My watch didn't understand what I was saying, apparently. So if you ever have questions or you're looking for resource material, the New Shelves blog has a ton of resources. So you can always go here to this little search feature and you can type in whatever you're looking for. So we can type in bestseller and it will pull up all of our blogs that talk about bestsellers. So this one right here, the 3 bestseller secrets, this is the one that talks about what you need to hit bestseller on different lists, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and that kind of thing. And then, you know, we talk about bestsellers and some of our other ones as well. So it just pulls it up and it's really handy so you can see things that come up. So hopefully that helps with that question there. All right, and then the follow-up question or another question there was, I'll get there eventually. If I need to purchase books to sign at an event, where should I be buying them? If you are looking to purchase books for an event and you have indie published or self-published, you typically would be purchasing from either IngramSpark or KDP as author copies. So you're just basically paying the print price and shipping. It's less expensive. You can order them in bulk, and you can order hundreds of copies that way all at once. I do highly recommend, as unfortunately someone I am working with discovered, is if you have never ordered a print copy of your book, I highly recommend that you order a single printed proof to make sure that there's no funny business going on before you order 100 copies. Because if your files had a problem, if you really are in a rush for an event, something like that, and you order a bunch of copies of your book, you're kind of stuck with them, especially if the file issue is on your end. So just keep that in mind, that you probably want to do a single buy, you know, a single proof, or even if you're in a rush and you don't want to wait, just order, drop the price down on Amazon, your print price, drop the price down, order a copy through Amazon Prime, and then bring the price back up. And then you can get that on Amazon Prime and get it quickly. So that's an option as well. When you buy author copies from IngramSpark, should you be paying sales tax? I am no accountant nor a lawyer. However, I do believe that depends on if you are planning to resell them, then you actually have to claim taxes when you claim the profit. And also it depends on the state you live in. They're all different. All right. He's just such a barker today. All right. Some questions from Scott are, IngramSpark sells the print and ebook setup. So the ebook and print setup on IngramSpark is $49. And the question is, can you upload one and not the other? You either upload them both together or you do one. I personally do not use IngramSpark for my ebook distribution. I do not upload my ebooks here. So that's just me personally. You, of course, may or may not do that. But just know if you do plan to do the ebook, you want to do them both at once, or else you get charged $49 for each upload. I did also want to mention that through the end of this month, so just 2 more days, IngramSpark currently has a free code for new uploads. It is free5, all caps written out, FREEFIVE 22, free522, and that will get you 5 free uploads, but it's only good through the end of this month. So if you have been thinking about uploading a print copy to IngramSpark anytime soon and you want to bypass that $49 fee, use that code. Otherwise, if you are a member of Ally or IBPA, you also get a free code every month for up to 5 uploads. And those codes also work for updates as well, not just new books, but even if you're updating older files. The other question, there are a couple on IngramSpark. The question about, can you use the same interior for Amazon KDP and for IngramSpark? Yes, you can use the same files, the same interior to upload to IngramSpark and to KDP. Typically, there's no problem there. Now, the cover files are slightly different, and so you will need to have a cover file made to spec for both IngramSpark and KDP. Both of them do have cover templates and cover generators that you can pull, so you make sure that your book cover is sized for their system. And Caroline's asking why I don't distribute ebooks through Ingram. So IngramSpark for ebook distribution has gotten better over the last year, let's say. However, in my experience, it takes longer for them to update. If I use Draft to Digital and I want to do a price discount, it happens immediately or pretty much immediately. I can schedule in advance. Whereas with IngramSpark, they do their updates on Fridays, so it can take longer. Also, they don't have as much of the distribution that I like, especially going out to libraries and things like that, as far as connecting with Baker and Taylor and other options. So while it has gotten much better over the last year, I don't think it's a horrible choice to use IngramSpark for ebook distribution. They are just not my preferred spot for ebook distribution. I personally upload my print books to IngramSpark and to KDP, and then I upload my ebooks to KDP and Draft to Digital. So personal preference here, but I just think it's a little bit more clunky on IngramSpark than on Draft to Digital for those ebooks. And Draft to Digital is also in beta testing for print books. So we'll see what comes of that in the future. See, I'm working on an ebook that I'd like to sell for free. What's the best way to distribute them? If you would like to put up a book that is perma-free, meaning that anyone can download that book for no money, the best way is to use somewhere like Drafted Digital or go direct to those retailers so you can set the book to free. Now, Amazon, if you are using directly KDP to upload, they don't allow you to set a book for $0.00. They just don't let you. However, they will sometimes match perma-free if the book is free up on like Barnes and Noble and Kobo and things like that. But it can be a hassle to try to get that. But that is an option, as you can do it perma-free by putting it free on another website like Drafted Digital and then asking KDP to match it. And it is up to them. Usually they're pretty accommodating on that, but it's like you do it once and don't ask them ever again. So just depends on your purpose there. And then of course, yes, there is Kindle Unlimited. Now Kindle Unlimited only makes the book free for those who have the Kindle Unlimited subscription. So you as the author still get paid because you're getting paid by the page read, but it does make it free for those on the Kindle Unlimited subscription. So it depends on your goals and what you're trying to actually get there. How long does it take for a book to appear on other websites like Target, Walmart, Books A Million after your book is put on IngramSpark? Anything we need to do? Nope. So the book typically will go up with the next metadata push. Most of the time you'll see that start showing up within 3 to 7 days once you approve the book for distribution on IngramSpark. The best way I found to search is do not search your name, do not search your title. The metadata may not have actually synced with algorithms yet. Search your ISBN, no dashes, just your 13-digit ISBN, and that is the best way to find your books. I have found that Barnes and Noble shows up pretty quickly. Books A Million tends to be a little bit behind them. Bookshop.org is one of the slowest places. I've seen that take anywhere from a week to a month, so that may take a little while. Target and Walmart are not guaranteed, but they typically do pick it up within 3 weeks or so. Let me see. Let me go back and finish my IngramSpark questions and I'll answer the other questions coming in. Let's see. Yes, another question about IngramSpark was about file revisions. According to IngramSpark, file revisions are free. So if you upload a file and it's the wrong size, you realize that you misspelled something on the cover, you can upload a new file for free. That revision is free. That is correct. However, I would like to clarify that revision is free until you approve the book. If you upload your book files and you approve it, and then you get a proof copy and you realize that you messed something up and you need to upload a new file, then you will pay a $25 revision fee. However, if you upload your book to IngramSpark and you get the PDF proof and you save it and you look at that PDF proof and you realize, oh my gosh, I spelt my name wrong on the cover, then you can not approve that. There's an option on the approval page where you say, this book is not approved. I have new files to upload. So you can click on that and then you can go upload new files and there's no additional fee for that. So revisions are free until you approve the PDF proof. Once you approve that and you set it for sale or distribution, it is $25 for that revision fee. So yes, but a little caveat there. Anna's asking, how important is a book's subtitle? Can it gain further recognition for the book? So here is the thing. When you change the subtitle, yes, usually the subtitle does not matter as much to the reader, although it may. The subtitle is really, really handy for metadata and for keywords. So sometimes you will realize that you weren't actually getting as much as you could out of the keywords in your subtitle, especially if you've got a nonfiction book. So you may decide to change it there, and that can certainly make a difference because your keywords are like your SEO. It's how your book is found. And so it can help you get more attention onto your book. As far as the reader, well, I mean, if the subtitle was really kind of lame, then yes. But most of the time, the reader only focuses on the title, not the subtitle. Now, if your book, again, and you've got the subtitle listed, sometimes if it's really poignant, they will capture it. But most of the time, they're looking at your book cover, and the biggest thing on your book cover is going to be your actual title. So subtitle matters, in my opinion, more for keywords, more for metadata than it does for the actual consumer in most cases, especially if you are in fiction. Subtitles doesn't matter nearly as much for the reader, may matter more for nonfiction. And I will say that subtitles are used and used more eloquently over in the UK than even in Canada than they are in the US. US tends to be kind of short with subtitles, whereas the UK can have some really long subtitles, and almost every book has a subtitle. If you change the subtitle, do you have to change the ISBN? That is one of the things that if you have a print book and you're changing the subtitle, typically, yes, you do have to change the ISBN. So for example, once you upload a book to KDP for a print book, once you upload it and make it live, you cannot change the title or the subtitle of that title unless you upload a new listing with a new ISBN. Ebooks are a little bit different. You can change the subtitle on an ebook, like through Kindle and Amazon. You can change that subtitle without doing a whole new listing, but that's because it's kind of Amazon's internal setting. But overall, when you're changing the title, you must have a new ISBN. And keep in mind, if you change the subtitle, you will be able, if you have Keri's book of advice, the most crazy advice you've ever heard, and that's under one ISBN, and then I decide I want to change it and it's Keri's book of advice, the best crazy advice you ever had about writing and publishing, and I want to change the subtitle, I do need a new ISBN to put that up. However, Amazon will link those two because the actual title and the author name is the same. They will link the two books. They will pull over my reviews and everything like that. But if I were to change the title and I changed it from Keri's book of advice and I changed it to the publishing book of advice or something like that, then that would not sync. I would lose all my reviews. It would be listed all on its own. I would have to have a disclaimer that the book was previously published under a different title, and so on and so forth. So if you're changing your actual title, that's a bigger jump than if you're changing your subtitle. So just be aware of that. All right. If you upload a perma-free to Draft2Digital, where do people order it? Draft2Digital will distribute your book out to Kobo, iBooks, Barnes & Noble for Nook. They can do Amazon. I usually recommend going directly to KDP to distribute to Amazon. You'll make more money and have more control, but Draft2Digital can distribute out to Amazon for KDP. And then if you are doing library options, you can also enable Overdrive, Hoopla, Bibliotheca, and a bunch of those there. So you do have a lot of options with Draft2Digital, and that's why I like them. It's kind of a one-stop shop. Now, alternatively, you can go to Barnes & Noble and upload your book there, go to Google Play and upload your book there, go to iBooks and create an account and upload your book there. So you do have those options as well. It just means keeping track of more accounts and taking more time to learn the systems and upload them. So just depends on personal preferences there. All right, speaking of Barnes & Noble, we had a question about Barnes & Noble Linnea asked, I typically publish books print on demand with both KDP and IngramSpark using my own ISBNs. I just realized that another print on demand option is Barnes and Noble Press. Is there some advantage to me also publishing using Barnes and Noble Press? So yes, if you have, I'm sure many people have heard about it, uploading directly to Barnes and Noble, you can use Barnes and Noble Press for that. One of the things I do not like about using Barnes and Noble Press print on demand is they require that you have an ISBN just for your book on their site. Technically, that's not totally legit. It's not something that should happen. Your print book should have one ISBN that you own that you can upload to both KDP and IngramSpark and Barnes and Noble. However, Barnes and Noble systems do not allow you to use the ISBN that's been used elsewhere. So you have to have a separate ISBN for Barnes and Noble Press, which means that your book is floating around with multiple ISBNs, which I often compare to like Social Security number. Do you really want multiple Social Security numbers? Not so much. And so I do not like that, and I don't personally recommend it. However, are there reasons why you may want to go directly to Barnes and Noble Press rather than using like IngramSpark to distribute your book to Barnes and Noble? In most cases, no, not for the print book anyway. You get on barnesandnoble.com. Using Barnes and Noble Press does not mean that your book is going to be carried in a Barnes and Noble store. No more than if you're in IngramSpark. It simply means that it's available and you can request that they use it, that they do list it. So I personally do not like Barnes and Noble Press, POD, not my preference. However, if you are looking to work with Barnes and Noble specifically for ebook opportunities. So while I personally like to use Draft to Digital for my ebook distribution, if you are looking for opportunities of how to work with Barnes and Noble directly for ebook promotion or Kobo directly for ebook promotion, it can be beneficial to upload your ebook directly there. Now, you don't have to. You can go create author profiles on these sites and then, reach out to Barnes & Noble or Kobo and ask for promo consideration. However, if you are uploading your book there, they have more control. They can see your book on their platform, and you may be more likely to get some ebook promotion for things specific to that website and that distribution opportunity. So if you're considering it, I personally don't love Barnes & Noble Press print on demand, but there is some value to using them for your ebook upload if you're really thinking that you want to market to that segment of your audience. I think that was the full question, but let me just double check. Yep, got it. All right. I'm going on a cross-country road trip to pitch my book to indie stores. What's the best way to find them? Boop, boop. That's awesome. If you are looking for indie stores, my favorite way is go over to bookshop.org. And when you are looking up books, it will list indie bookstores based on your zip code. So if you know where you're going to be traveling, pull the zip code, plug it in, and it will pull up all the local bookstores and the indie bookstores in that area. Then you can start reaching out and see about talking to them, setting up author events and that kind of thing. So I highly recommend that. You can also go to indiebound.org and do the same thing. So Bookshop or IndieBound, take your zip code, plug it in, and see what stores are around there. You can, of course, also Google just cities with bookstores and look at it that way, but it can pull up kind of everything, whereas Bookshop tends to focus more on bookstores that are not resale stores they're not like secondhand stores. They tend to be bookstores that are active and are actively purchasing and selling new books. So that's what I would do. And when you approach them, I think it's important that you have a plan. What are you asking for? Are you asking to, are they willing to consign? Are they willing to stock your book? Are you looking for a bookstore event? Are you offering a class on craft? I think that you need to have not only your book information handy and be available to send them that information, but if you have an ask, you need to be very clear on what that ask is so that you can present it to them, and you're more likely to get a yes if you just come out and ask what you want and be very clear in what you're asking for. Let me see. And I will say that if you happen to be visiting along your journey, if you are visiting other authors, it's not a bad idea to see about pairing up with them for an event. So you can pitch it as you and a local author, two for the price of one, drawing in a local crowd. I've assigned an ISBN to my paperback, hardcover, and ebook children's picture book. I haven't published yet. I would like to shorten the title now. Do I still have to get a new ISBN? No, if you've assigned it in Bowker, you can just go in and update it. It's once the book goes live and is published. If the book is up on pre-order, then it's too late. If you've already kind of put it out there with that title and the ISBN, it's too late. However, if it's just up on Bowker, and that's where you've assigned it out, you still have time to go make those changes and those updates. If you re-upload your book on Amazon without major changes, just typos, will that affect the reviews? It will not. You don't have to, if you are just doing a updated file because you found proof errors, typos, that kind of thing, and everything else is staying the same, you can just upload new files. You don't need a new ISBN, you don't need a new listing, and your reviews will stay right where they are. So no worries there, just a quick upload and then it'll process through. Got it, Nancy. Thank you. All right. A review by a verified purchaser in Canada was dropped from my Amazon page this week. It sounds like authors are simply at the mercy of Amazon algorithms. This person who has been in contact with me directly could repost, correct? No. So the way that Amazon reviews work, especially internationally, is that some of them will show up in the US and internationally. Some of them will not. Same thing for US reviews. Some of them will show up on the US and in UK, Canada. Some of them will not. We are at the mercy of Amazon's algorithms and if they decide it's pertinent to that platform. If a review is removed by Amazon, please know it is not someone in an office going, keep this one, not that one. Yep, keep this one. This one can go to Canada. This one can go to UK. No, not this one. That's not how it works. It is bots and it is algorithms. So you really have no control over this. And once a review is gone, it's gone. And you cannot repost a review from the same account twice. It simply will not allow you to. So all you can do is put it up. Hopefully that review did stay on the Canadian side, so it's still accessible there. And it's just kind of one of Amazon's perks. Same thing, Amazon does occasionally go through and they do reviews. And again, not a human, a bot goes through and does reviews, reviews of reviews. They kind of do a process where they're looking through the reviews and they may start deleting reviews that they feel were not verified, were not correct, that would have been biased, anything like that. They can do that at any time. And there have been times where there's this like mass review process where people all of a sudden are complaining of their reviews going missing. I've seen anywhere from one review to hundreds of reviews be deleted because of things like this. Now, Amazon hasn't done that as much recently. They have started being harder. They have stricter process now to leave a review in the first place, which is cutting back on some of those reviews going missing down the road. However, people still will try to pay for reviews and do shady things. So they still do this review process. And if your reviews are taken down, it's just gone and you don't have access to that. Again, very unfortunate, but it's just kind of a quirk of the system. This is why sometimes people will go directly to, if you go to Author Central, you can go to your reviews and you can actually pull up all of your reviews in one spot. And when you do that, you can go and save your reviews for your, now these will never end up back on Amazon. If Amazon takes them down, they're just gone. But if you were to save those reviews, at least you would have them. You could use them maybe in your marketing, your website, that kind of thing. So that is something to consider doing every now and then, just so you do have copies of your reviews. And the way that you access that, again, is through Author Central. Let me actually pull this up here. Let me share my screen and I'll show you. Share screen. There we go. All right, so when you go to, we're using Patricia today. If you go on to Author Central here, you want to go to the Reports and Marketing tab. Now, if you're a published author on Amazon, you should absolutely have an Author Central account. It's free. You can grab it. Just go in through your KDP account and go to author.amazon.com. But you go to the Reports and Marketing tab, and then there's this thing, Customer Reviews. So you go to View Report, and it will list all of the reviews for the book right here. And then you can copy and paste them over. You can, I don't think you can export them, but you can certainly take a screenshot. And you can do it for individual books. You can do it for all your books, and you can also do it for different platforms. So not all platforms I don't think are available, but you can kind of do it. And you will see, so like this is Amazon.com, and we can see reviews here. But then when we go to Amazon.uk, there are no reviews there. That's what we're talking about, where sometimes they'll show up on one spot and not another. But if you are kind of worried that your reviews may at one, sometime go away and you want to keep a record of them, I know authors will do this once a month or once a year, depending on how many reviews you have, just to kind of keep a record of reviews for their own personal marketing use. If you upload your ebook to Barnes & Noble, would that be so that it's available on Nook? And would you need a separate ISBN? If you upload it to Barnes & Noble, it would be so it's on Nook through Barnes & Noble. If you're using Draft to Digital, your ebook will show up on Nook, but it's being distributed through Draft to Digital. So if you're trying to get special promotion activity from Barnes & Noble, you may have an edge if you upload directly to Barnes & Noble, and they do require an ISBN, and it must be separate for that book. Separate for that format of that book, I'm sorry. Another Ingram question, I can't enable distribution for a title. It shows title has never been in production status, but can't figure out how to get into production status. That is super strange. I think if that is not working, Caroline, I would try either deleting the title and restarting, or I would try, which I've had that happen before, where like it just gets stuck and something goes wonky. So you can delete the title and then re-upload, or if you've tried that, or if you're still having problems, you can always go to IngramSpark support and ask them. They may have paused that title for distribution for some reason or another. And you may also, when you see that, when you click on like the status of it, sometimes they do have a running list of like what the error was. I know you in particular have books that the copyright is owned by another publisher outside of the US. So you may be running into issues like that, like you do with KDP. I'm constantly receiving promos for reviews from book tasters. Have you heard of them? I have heard of them. I have never personally used them, so I can't give you personal experience, but my advice always stands. Google, ask an author groups, get some advice, and make sure that you know what you're getting. What are you really paying for, and is it worth it for you, your goals, and your ROI? this review company, this is not something that's going to help you sell books to bookstores. You know, that's the trade reviews, Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, Library Journal, those kinds of things. So that's not really going to help you sell books there. Where are they getting you reviews for? Paying for reviews on Amazon is against policy, and that can get your book taken down and the reviews taken down. So you always want to make sure you know exactly what you're getting, what they're offering. There are some very legitimate sites out there like NetGalley for reader reviews, Hidden Gems, because again, what they're doing is they're simply offering books and asking people to review, and they have a list of people there, but they are not they do not promise reviews. They do not promise a number of reviews. So again, what are they offering? Is it legitimate? And does it meet your goals? Whether that be an ROI or impressed, whatever it may be. Okay, I think we have, let's see. Okay. Oops. There we go. Kate was asking how to purchase ISBNs. So if you are in the United States, the only legitimate source to buy ISBNs in the United States is through Bowker. You go to myidentifiers.com, and that is where you buy your ISBNs. myidentifiers.com, and I will, whoops. I'm going to type in the right website and then I'll share my screen. So, give me just a second. All right. So myidentifiers.com right here is the only legitimate place to buy ISBNs in the United States. I do not care if there's another place saying that they can sell you ISBNs cheaper. They are reselling ISBNs, which is actually against policy. Not only is it against policy, that means that you don't truly own it. You are essentially leasing it, and I do not recommend that. Go to Bowker, myidentifiers.com, buy your own ISBNs. If you're in the UK, you go to Bowker.com, which goes through Nielsen, and you buy your ISBNs there. If you're in Canada, you can request them from your government and you get them for free. So different areas do have different processes. So make sure you get your own ISBNs. How do you do that? It's really, really easy. Number one, you sign up for a free account. So this account is completely free. Give me a second and I will go to my account. The account is free, the ISBNs are not. So first step is you go and you you go here. Then you simply go to My Identifiers and you can purchase them if you don't have any. You can go to, which one is it? Give me a second here. Right here, register and copyright your book. Buy ISBNs. It's as simple as this. You go to your buy ISBNs and then it tells you why you should buy it, blah, 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 and then it gives you the pricing. You can get 10 ISBNs for $295, or you can get one ISBN for $125. So let me tell you why you never want to buy one ISBN. Because if you have a book that you are putting up in paperback and ebook, you need 2 ISBNs. Well, if you buy 2 separate ISBNs, that's $250. Or you can buy 10 ISBNs for $50 more, $295, and you have enough for 5 books. So it's kind of like 5 for the price of 1. It just makes sense. So you want to grab that 10 pack of ISBNs, keeping in mind that each format of your book needs its own ISBN. So your ebook needs an ISBN, your paperback needs an ISBN. If you have a hardcover, that needs an ISBN. If you have an audiobook, that needs an ISBN. So if you have all 4 formats for one title, you will need 4 ISBNs. If you are only doing paperback and ebook, you need 2 ISBNs. So it's very easy to see how that 10 pack, you know, would go pretty quickly, because if you've got 3 or 4 different formats, well, then that's going to last you for 2 to 3 books. If you're just doing ebook and paperback, that's going to last you for about 5 titles. So it just makes sense. I never recommend buying just the one ISBN because it doesn't make sense. Now, if you are a publisher, you're really cranking out some books, you may consider the 100 ISBNs. I think New Shelves has the 1,000 because we used to actually use them a lot more than we do now. But they never expire. They never expire. And if the case of sale or death, they can be transferred to new ownership. But you cannot sell them or share them outside of a company sale. So do be aware of that. Library numbers. So there aren't library numbers. There's PCIP blocks, and that is done by a different company. So you don't buy them at the same time. You would do that through a different company. All right. Whoop, there we go. Do we have any Facebook groups that are book trains other than Authors Readers United Book Trains, where other authors read your books and write reviews and they in turn receive the same? I do not. I would be very careful in those groups, those book trains. You have to be very, very careful, because if you are doing reviews for the promise of a review, you are technically not within Amazon standards, and they do start to notice those things. So I'd be very, very careful in those groups. It's fine to support and say, you know, I've got this book, and if you're willing to download it, read it, I'd be appreciative. Yes, but when you start swapping reviews, that is on the edge of what they consider a paid review. All right. One last question here. I think this is the last one, is should I continue querying after I've self-published? I can't answer that for you. That's up to you and your goals. Should you query for a trade publication deal, or should you self-publish? It depends on if you want to take on the business of publishing, or if you simply want to write, have an agent, and push it out that way. It's a very personal choice. I think you can be very successful with either one. I will say that if you have self-published a book and it has not been very successful, it can be harder to get a traditional deal after that. So just keep that in mind. And typically, publishers do not take a book mid-series. If you've written a book or 2 books in a series and self-pubbed, and then you want a traditional publisher to pick up the rest of the books, you better have some pretty darn impressive sales. That's not typically something they do. They want to start from the beginning. Yes. All right. Oh, well, thank you. Again, just a reminder, everyone, that is it for today. We will not be here next Friday. Next Friday, May 6th, I will be on a beach. I will probably have a drink in my hand, and I will not be here, but we will be back the week after that. I would love to see you, 10 a.m. Eastern. Yes, Tara, don't judge me. I will be on the beach with a drink in my hand at 10 a.m. That's what mimosas are for. So I will be gone. I'll see you next time. If you have questions, if you think of them, always, there's our Facebook group, and also you can email in questions. I will not be answering questions. I will not be emailing while on vacation, but you can send them in so we can cover them in 2 weeks. Just info@newshelves.com. Thanks, you guys. I hope that you all have a wonderful 2 weeks. I will see you after that, and have a lovely couple of weeks. Bye.